Thank you everyone for joining. Super excited to have another week project cast and talk to you guys about all things sales. It's my turn now. My name is Matthew Terry, founder, CEO of Suade. I got a question for you, Ryan. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
When it comes to sales coaching and training, everyone talks about how they listen to recordings, they do one-on-ones, they do XYZ to help upskill their sales reps. Does that work? Does that actually move the needle? Is my first question. And I guess to even preface that, is that what you all do at Superhuman?
Yeah, that stuff's super valuable. I do like the sports analogy as much as that might be trite or rote. I think it's a perfect example of how you should think about sales performance. And so any of the top performing teams, a lot of them come with are already a set of foundation and experience so that they can get to speed quickly. So I think a big part of coaching is actually recruiting, finding the right people to begin with in the right seats. Because if you don't, then you're going to be putting too much effort into finding a diamond in the rough. So if you can just identify diamonds, then all you have to do is make them shiny rather than clean off all the dust.
Good point.
So having that recruiting in place is literally like half the battle. I even apply this to, I manage Philadelphia Heritage. It's a men's amateur semi-pro team in the Philadelphia area. And that's half of our effort is finding the right people that are at a high level because the rest then is just defining a strategy and then working on tactics. We say chemistry, strategy, tactics and plays. So if you relate that to the sales process and coaching, picking the right people is that same idea, having those right people who can get started and have success very quickly. Then it's identifying the strategy. How are you all going to be rowing in the same direction, right? The chemistry and strategy. So chemistry is really big because everybody has to jive. You can't have personalities that are abrasive and end up kind of restricting someone's ability to be themselves and be the best person that they can be. So that chemistry and strategy is kind of what we teach them right away. Hey, this is our culture. This is how it works. This is what we do. This is what, pretty much you're going to do. It sounds a little bit cultish, but in an organization, when it's about performance, those things are kind of a non-negotiable. So they have to buy into that. Then I think you can get to the recordings and things. I mean, that's like ongoing continuous improvement. Even the folks that have been here 3, 4, 5, 6 years will get their evaluated and get smart action plans to improve some part of the process. Just
Fantastic.
placing that a little bit into where that's important. It doesn't matter unless you have the right people.
Yeah. I I really like that. I've heard that before, but it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to just be like, okay, let me hire some people, and then I got to figure out how to train and coach and onboard and do this well. But actually, can't just let me hire some people. You need to
Right.
really think about the process and the culture and what you want the chemistry of your organization to be and find those people. And that's got to be hard. What they say about hiring, you got to do twice as long hiring and fraction of the time firing or something like that. I forget what the saying is, but you really got to spend time finding the right people for your organization.
The next thought on that is that when you can agree on a strategy. So for us, it's the H2H method. Everybody has to say the same thing. They're graded on the same thing. So it's all fair in that regard. Like there's the same rules. And then you can start working on some kind of high performing plays or tactics. So for instance, like if we find one specific tactic that's working on closing an appointment, we have something called the stacking method where you ask for an email first and work them up to a call back and then turn that into a Zoom meeting. That's something that we train people once they get the foundation of how to have a conversation, right? Because if they just try to lead with that or like that's big to them, they're going to skip all the trust building and then the prospect's going to feel like they're just trying to aggressively, force them into an appointment. You have to build upon each one of those.
The stack method, first time I'm hearing about that. That
Yeah, that's a
sounds
little superhuman sales skill that someone in our team developed.
That's awesome. So on the same call, you ask for the email, and then you ask, "Can I call you back in 2 months?" And then it's like, not 2 months, probably like 2 weeks, and then it's like, "Actually, man, why don't we just set up 30 minutes?" And it's
Yeah,
like,
right. So a lot of times a no about asking an appointment, this is now getting not off of the recruiting and coaching, but it has to do with the fact that like you can teach these super skills, but they
mhm,
have to know the place and where that falls in. Sometimes you just get that priority set where, hey, just learn these super little skills in here, these little closing attempts, and you'll be right up there when really they're missing so much meat of the conversation. They're missing 80% of what builds trust on a call. That method, though, is like just for fun, is like if I'm asking you for that meeting, like we've had a good conversation. All right, well, do you mind if I send you an email and just to get you some more information on it and then build that up? They're like, yeah, okay, that's fine. All right, well, do you mind if I call you back in a week just to see what you thought? Yeah, that's fine. You can give me a call. All right, well, I'm actually looking at my calendar and I do see that I actually have Tuesday at 3. If you had 20 minutes, then we could just, meet you on that Zoom meeting. How's that? Right. And so you're kind of building up that instead of asking for that meeting right away, and they're like, "Oh man, no, like I'm not going to meet," and then you kind of
Yeah.
have to work backwards from there.
Sounds very,
So
very, very
yeah, a
so.
little bonus tip.
Yeah, I like that. I'm big on strategy. I love talking and jamming about strategy and tactics because again, I'm a segue. We can bring it back, but there's a strategy and discovery call called anchoring. I'm sure you've heard of it, where
Okay.
you big like, hey, can you, your boss, and your CFO, all of us meet for 2 hours? And when they say no, anchor. It's like, okay, that's fine. Well, how about just 30 minutes for
I
you?
love that because then, right, it takes the weight off of that, and it sounds like an appointment with just them is not as big of a deal. We have something like that called we call it the boomerang because we ask for the meeting, and hey, would you be open to a meeting, in 2 days? Oh my gosh, no, no, I'm not ready for that. Like we're not ready to buy. Hey, no worries. How about we just send you an email? Yeah, okay, that's better. And then do you mind if we give you a call back sometime down the road? Okay. Well, then how about we set up a time maybe in a week after you've had some information? And a lot of times they'll actually it circles back into that appointment. But I like that anchoring. That's good.
Yeah. Sales tactics. Anyways, reeling it back. Coaching,
Real and
training.
fact.
Well, if you could, I don't know if this is secret sauce for superhuman, but do you have a best practice when it comes to hiring, even from who you go after? Like, do you put ads in some sort of place, or do you do Indeed, or just tell us
Yeah.
about your process?
I mean, just like prospecting, we'll take leads from everywhere. I mean, we always have Indeed ads and, different places like that to pull people in. We've even been involved with colleges before to get some talent. We go to career fairs at universities. So we'll get certain types of talent. We look for certain types of people, but it's always a pipeline. You interview 10, you have 10 set, 7 show up, you offer to, 5, 3 accept, 2 show up, you know? So
Funnel.
it's the same funnel in that regard.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So putting out ads in most places and in your interview process, is there any sort of strategy there to help weed out some people who you're like, I don't know if they're gonna get it. I don't know if they're gonna have the chemistry or the skills.
So we kind of have like several checkpoints that we go after. We have kind of a chemistry check and just can they talk? Can they talk with our management team, right? So if you think about if the manager can talk and have a conversation with that person, they're building that chemistry like, okay, I can work with this person, right? So they have that chemistry check. Hey, we have this methodology, we have a certain way of doing things. This is W-2 role. So just want to make sure you're okay with that. Sounds like you have a lot of sales skills and knowledge, but want to make sure you're okay with utilizing our method and setting that expectation. And then they'll go through a role play on a second meeting
Okay.
and go, hey, you can pitch me whatever you want, or we can give you the script. We just want to hear you go through the conversation and give it a shot. And so they'll go through that role play with that person. And based upon some criteria there, then they can make it to kind of that offer.
Gotcha. Okay. I
Yeah.
like it. Okay, very structured. Great.
Yeah.
Appreciate you walking us through that. And then just the last question around coaching and one-on-ones. What's the type of data you look at when you go to coach somebody?
So we have primary metrics and secondary metrics. Primary metrics are kind of the drivers, the end data that we need to evaluate at the end of the day how effective were they. But then there's some other secondary kind of metrics that are leading indicators that could show, hey, this person is getting setting themselves up a lot. They're getting a lot of decision maker conversations, but they're not quite turning that into a meeting. Some of the metrics overall would be decision maker connect rate, right? On a quality metric, how many leads they're getting overall, nurture, warm, and appointment, and how many appointments they're getting overall. And then we have conversions on those. So we have dials to conversations and then dials to calls conversions or appointments. So that way we can see kind of with the call that they're given, how well are they converting those?
Gotcha.
Yeah, we do have quantity as well. We have efficiency metrics that they have, but I mean, that's just for our organization, what we would
Yeah.
say. I think that's relative, but I do think that ubiquitously the a decision maker connect rate and the appointments made on decision maker connect rate are the two most valuable metrics for any cold caller. How well can they get on the phone with the right person? Because that is a skill. People think it's just data, they blame everything else, but it's really a skill if you are talking to gatekeepers and things. And then number two is how well can you convert those decision maker connections into an appointment?
Awesome. Thanks for that. Well, that is the extent of my questions. Do
Yeah.
you have any questions for me or want to wrap it up?
I would just say tenure is an important thing too. I think if you're a coach or a sales leader, if you are able to weed out those people in those first 30, 60, 90 days that aren't going to fit the mold from any of their criteria, performance, buy into strategy, chemistry, weed them out soon because you can't have them become a cancer. You can't have them weighing down the team.
Yeah.
But the people that last, if you get past those 90 days, treat those people as if they're your best performers as much as you can. Treat them as if they're part of this team and you need them at every level. Because that's how we get these folks that last 2, 3, 4, 5, and several of them are at 6 years now, making 140 calls a day. And we see a correlation between success and tenure. So the top 10 performers have been here an average, I think, of 3.5 years, and our overall team for SDRs have been here a year and a half. So that's something too, is as you coach them and continue that process, they do get better over time as well. And so that's even more valuable. Something that's not
Yeah.
really looked at.
I can definitely see there being a correlation between success and tenure, but I also love how you praise success and acknowledge the best performers of SHP. Because a lot of times organizations really only coach and acknowledge the people who aren't doing well. They're like,
Right.
okay, look, all my time here and just make sure I can move the C's to the B's. But your A's will leave if they don't feel like they're
No.
valued.
Oh no. I still go once a month. I go to get lunch with Patrick, who's our best performer. We're all remote across the US, but he's here local Philly when we started. And every month I go and have lunch with him and make sure he has everything he needs. He's our best performer. Why would I not?
Yeah, gotcha. Well, it's another episode of Project Cast. Make sure you all check out H2H and Suade. We're building something really, really interesting and cool here. Go to suade.tech if you want to learn more, or follow both Ryan and I on LinkedIn for more information. Until next time, over and out.